It is 5:32 p.m. and we will call this meeting to order for the Hudson Housing Trust Fund Advisory Committee.
Can you take roll? Or don't need to?
We'll get it.
Okay. Got Usha.
Yes.
Rebecca. Nick. Present. Tom.
Present.
Jeff.
Yes, present.
Allie. Allie is not present. Got George. Got your own box.
Well, what's interesting is that whenever Jeff says anything,
It goes to.
the gal thinks that it's George up there, so it's putting George in its own box there.
Yeah.
Oh, that's very good.
Yeah.
Okay, so, today is kind of like a discussion workshop-y session. Just really picking up a lot of like little threads from our last meeting. We don't really have anything that we need to vote on today, but it's gonna be a lot of just quick updates from old business and then talking about a couple things in new business to move forward for the year. And just kind of thinking about kind of the goal that we'll probably want to think about a next project to like our project for the year, how to spend money at one of our upcoming meetings. And then the rest of the year is a little bit more of checking how things are going, looking at fundraising, making sure we've got housing trust fund money for future years and budgeting for the following year. So do you want to call for old business?
Sure, old business, quick updates, Hudson Roots.
So just so y'all know for Hudson Roots, so again, 50,000 was our budget for this year. It's about halfway expended so far, which is on track. Normally December through March are the busiest months needing rental assistance, both in terms of I think holidays and when people get sick and tend to fall behind, and also just when leases are up and rents are due. So I looked back at like the past 3 years and it's been pretty typical that there's a lot more spent December through March, and there's not too much spent October through November. But yeah, so far, I left the paper on my desk, but I can email it back to you guys with the numbers spent for the year.
You meant April through November, right?
No, I meant December through March.
But then you said there's a lot less spent October through November, and you meant April through November, right? I'm just trying to.
So you're right that I skipped a bunch of months. The thing is that like when I was looking at it, it's like a lot are spent December through March, and then like it drops down April through September, and then there's not a lot of requests September through November, based on like what I've seen the last 3 years or so. So I apologize, I don't have the exact numbers there on my desk, but I think it's been, I want to say, I think it's been 22 people helped so far this year. I think.
We only help with rental assistance with them, or Hudson Roots is only helping with rental assistance?
So the way it's defined is pretty broad. It's really anything that helps with like key housing needs.
So they would pay a security deposit, for example?
Yeah, they would.
Awesome. I needed to know that, thank you.
So far, it's really only been that grant. That's been the requests. And I think there was one security deposit, but it's pretty much been all that grant.
Great.
But Hudson Roots, they do more than that, right?
So the Hudson Roots is like the funds we're giving to Greater Promise Hudson Neighborhood. And when they do the funds, it's pretty comprehensive that they're really kind of identifying what the issue is with the family. If there's other needs going on, so they're able to access other support, everything ranging from like getting people air conditioners or help with a medical need or transportation. And they also are like, they talk to all the other programs. So for example, DSS, Catholic Charities, St. Catherine's. And so making sure that if there's other funds available, those are used first, or sometimes teaming up with those other funds in order to kind of leverage the funds the best way they can.
So if anybody's interested in those funds, they need to contact Greater Promise.
Yeah, Joan Hunt's the main contact.
Gotcha.
So I can email you the exact numbers when we're done. Okay.
Any other information on that or any questions about that? Trust code donation.
The update is that, if you saw the corrected minutes, the donation was $250. So that changed that to the minutes, previous minutes, from the last meeting, but the donation has officially been, all the paperwork was been filled out.
Yay.
It took a while to get all the paperwork for HCPA to accept the funds.
Do you think it would be like that every
No,
time there's a
because
donation, or is
now
this like, this is
So the good news is that now we know how to accept money.
right on?
We understand the process, HCPI, we have the right paperwork, so
And I
this
want to
was,
make sure I heard you correctly, you said $250, right? Okay, I just want to make sure.
yeah,
I thought I missed.
We lost a
I thought
zero.
I missed a K or something.
no.
Okay. We
So,
appreciate it, though.
yeah,
Yeah.
and now we know, we have all the paperwork to get more donations,
Got it, okay,
yeah.
got it.
So that's the update.
Anything else on that? CDBG Housing Rehab Grant.
So our last meeting, you guys voted to dedicate $15,000 to finish out the city's projects. HCP accepted that. Just want to give you an update that that money will probably be expended this month or next month. CDBG projects are kind of getting down to their final bits. And so there's 5 projects, one's 100% done, the other 4 are like between 85 and 100, but that last 15% is just a little tricky figuring out the final punch list and what needs to get done. And so just so you know that will be the way it'll work. And this is kind of what HCPA's attorney figured out, was that basically the contractor who does the work will like submit the invoice to HCPA and they'll send it off, they'll send the check there. And we did talk about continuing to fundraise for other grants to kind of replenish that piece. So we'll kind of talk about fundraising goals and the new business. That's the update.
Legal aid representation.
Just a quick update. So last meeting, we talked about how we don't have legal aid representation. The update is in the 6 weeks that have passed. We still don't, but I've bugged enough people that now I'm hearing back from some people. So the county's actually, like some people at the county are actually like now interested in this topic. So I don't have any good news in terms of still haven't found any attorneys who can work here or who are willing to with legal aid, but hopefully by next time we'll have some actual answers or like pathways to finding representation.
The purpose of legal aid for what we're working on.
Yeah, so basically, there is state money in the budget to provide free legal representation for low-income residents facing like eviction. And we don't have any attorneys. That's through legal aid of Northeastern New York. And they don't actually have any attorneys for us. And so when people are going to court, there's no attorneys who can work, unless you have money to hire a private attorney. There's no attorneys doing that work.
What about the fair housing officer? Do they get representation?
Well, they're not attorneys.
I know, but I mean, is there an attorney that works for fair housing?
No,
No?
he just shows up, the fair housing officer as himself. With
And
no
they,
attorney.
so they don't have, wouldn't it be one and the same person, the legal person would work for both?
You would think that that would be a good idea for them to have a lawyer that they can do exactly that, bring to court, do things like that, but they don't.
Do you have one for the,
Actually, I
down
do
the
not.
street?
No, well, an attorney, yes, but not for the residents. Actually, unfortunately, it'll be against the residents for non-payment and other cases of that nature. So I wouldn't be a good resource in that case.
Housing authorities on the other side of
That's correct.
on the other side of the table.
Right. Reluctantly, but we are obligated to do so.
I mean, you know, sometimes you're correct and the people are wrong.
Yeah.
Believe it or not.
But I have talked to some people, so the new attorney that I have, I'll ask him. I'll ask if he has a recommendation, if so, and And I'll ask some other colleagues, and if so, I'll present that information too.
Does that mean that legal aid, like the Legal Aid Society, it's based in Albany, right?
Mhm.
And like, so that, does that mean they just don't have anyone assigned to Columbia County?
Yeah.
But do they have people assigned to other counties?
Sure.
And have they said why they don't have somebody?
They said they don't have the staffing. So like, I get what you're saying, where it's like, why can't you just like take this person on your caseload, right? If you're already doing Albany or Saratoga or something, but also they were saying to me, it's like, we could drive to different courts.
I was about to say that.
And so they're
It's
like,
probably a logistical issue. They're a half
Yeah.
hour away, we're here, and.
But what I was curious about is like, so for like, I don't know, Dutchess County or, you know, like other counties within the district,
yeah,
they do have people?
yeah, like, I think they're all really short-staffed. So I think that, so unfortunately, we're grouped with Albany, and I think like Rensselaer, and I think it's like, I don't know, Warren and Saratoga maybe. Cause I tried the Dutchess and Ulster, and they said they're not allowed to, they can't do Columbia. But yeah, it sounds to me like there's a disconnect and that they didn't even know they're supposed to be doing Columbia County.
I mean,
I think also part of the issue is that they like have such staff turnovers that sometimes there's maybe a disconnect of information being passed, but yeah, I've heard from like 3 different people at Legal Aid, they don't have the staffing for us, and like, they can't drive down to our courts because they're already booked.
What about Green County or?
I think they also cover Greene. I think Greene County is grouped in with them.
I wonder if theoretically a magic pot of funding became available for this, if the course to go would be to hire somebody locally or to still use something like legal aid, give the funding to them because they have the infrastructure and say, okay, well now here's money,
Yeah. Yeah,
put somebody towards
Just
Columbia County.
Right, but just a point of clarification, you did say that the state has money in the budget for it.
yeah, and it goes to Legal Aid.
Oh, and then they would have to assign somebody, got it. Okay.
Yeah, I think,
So there's money.
so who,
I don't know how much.
okay, so like, who would it be in the city government or whatever that would be advocating for, or not the city
It would
government,
go to
sorry,
state
county government,
yeah,
like, to be advocating that the county should have
Yeah.
legal aid
I
representation?
had a good conversation with Bob Gibson, and he was giving me some, like, he said Brad Fitzsimmons, like the county attorney, is a good person to talk to, and then also like, talk to him and Michael, Chimidas, who said kind of drop some of the data and bring it to the board of supervisors and like put it on their radar. Both because I get a lot of calls from people outside of Hudson. And so maybe it's in that like among their county attorneys and the board of supervisors, we can get a little more, speak on behalf of Columbia County, not just the city of Hudson. So that's my next step.
Right on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I like you, I think your way of thinking is like, correct, there's like 2 paths here, right? Of like getting more money.
Do something independent,
Yeah.
that just serves us, or try to make it happen through the existing channels.
Yeah, I would think the way is both.
Yeah.
Like we found some people here, find some money and hire them for the short term, in the meantime, kind of like, not lobby, but advocate for fixing the system. Yeah.
Because if it's a problem countywide, then the county.
Because I know Clark and Hudson has a small donations thing, which I think is under 10,000 for discrete things, which this would, I imagine, be a nice, easy application and quick thing. I don't know how long that would cover
Yeah,
legal services, but that's a perfect use of that funding source is to do it. It's a quick application, and it's just a matter of whether there's the infrastructure to pay somebody to do it.
yeah. That's great. If you do speak to your attorney and he has some names of some people who might be interested, that would
Sure.
be great. That's one thing that I ran up against, was just like, no one could think of people who would do this type of representation, so.
I should definitely be speaking with them this week, so
Okay.
I'll ask.
Cool, thank you. Cool, we got some ideas.
If there's nothing further on that, Green Board of Realtors.
That follow-up was when we talked, the last meeting, we talked about maybe reach out to Co-Green Realtors about just like a Section 8 voucher info, in case they're interested. I have not spoken to them, wanted to follow up if that's something y'all are interested in doing still, to try and see if more landlords are interested in renting out.
That was the conversation where we were trying to brainstorm about like what would be the ways to come at the problem from the landlord angle, like.
Yeah,
So, and that was sort of where it landed, am I right? That
that was one of the things we had on the list, was like talking to the realtors.
talking to the board of realtors. Yeah, I mean, I've never spoken to the board of realtors before. I wonder like, who are they and what is their, what do they care about or something like that?
I mean, I think among them, there's a lot of different values and personalities. We do have a DEI committee that's been trying to think more about how to have more inclusive housing options and equitable housing options throughout Columbia County. So I think I would start with them. But that's just if you guys specifically our HHA group are interested in like some kind of either just literature or some kind of conversation with them about trying to get more realtors interested.
Jeff, is that like, I honestly can't totally recapture what how our whole conversation went last time about that. Like, was that where we were talking about like, should we have an event?
Yeah, I think, well, I think the goal was like finding more landlords to accept Section 8 vouchers. Right, and is that your memory?
Yeah. And actually, thank you for mentioning that, because actually one of the things the Housing Authority wants to do is we're gonna have to do fairly soon, is to bring all the landlords in because there are new inspection protocols. So I would like to do a multifaceted event where I inform them about the protocols, but also try to increase their engagement as well, to try to increase, assistance to residents. So this could be.
Is there like a pool of landlords that you are aware of that are like?
Well, I wouldn't say a pool necessarily. We would deal with who we already deal with but also put it out there and ask them to kind of tell a friend, tell a neighbor, anybody that they know that may be interested, to tout our program positively, and ask them to come to the engagement, meeting so that we can talk to them about, the new protocols as well as why it would be beneficial for them to participate in the program.
And maybe the board of realtors could be invited to that event.
100%.
Yeah.
HHA redevelopment updates.
Who would like to give a
Would
quick?
that be me? Well, right now we've asked several political figures to assist us financially in our endeavors, because we're going to have about a $23 million gap in funding for creating this new development it will be double in size in a two-phase project. It's about $110 million each phase. So we are engaging politicians for that. We have had some answers and they were not positive answers, unfortunately. But we are seeking other methods, and as well as we have our request into the state for technical assistance, and they have given some feedback, which we had to coordinate with the city on, so that information has been sent to the city, and we're waiting for a response from them, as well as, we're letting them know that we have this funding gap and we need other assistance, but, if we're not able to get assistance, and we need to let them know that we're working on it, but if we're not able to get assistance, we're hoping that the state can help us with that. So we will be at the common council meeting next week on the 16th to make a presentation for funding. Restore grant, that's correct. And that will be specifically for demolition, because the guidelines are strict. However, you know, anything we get and everything we get will be helpful. So we're moving forward, and I'm not certain where we've been before because I wasn't here, but it appears that we're a little bit further than we've been in the past. And there's a lot of positives going on, so.
Which politicians did you speak to?
I have spoken to and emailed as well, Assemblywoman Dee Barrett,
Mm-hmm.
Congressman Molinaro. I believe we've also sent a letter to Henchie as well. So we did, and the only person that we've heard from two people. Molinaro said, hey, you know, we had about 100 folks ask for money and we can only give to 15, and so we're not able to choose you, but please apply next year. And Dee Barrett, while they said they couldn't help us directly, they are appealing to Molinaro to assist us in our endeavors.
So you're saying the total project would cost, what, 23 million?
No, that's the gap.
200, well,
Oh,
no, 210, 220 with a gap of financing for about 23 million.
I see.
So it's a two-phase project, about 110 million each phase.
Got it.
Yes, sir. But, there are plans in place and it looks good, and HUD, actually, I should add this, I've sent information to HUD as well, asking them to take a look at our, a modified request for our project, so, because we were kind of locked into something else, so we're asking them to get on board as well. And I'm almost certain that they will, because they want solvency, and that's what we're pushing for.
Is there any effort to trim the project at all?
Some of it is gonna be driven by the state, they may change some of the numbers, but I can't say that we are necessarily going grandiose, I think, you know, I wouldn't say we're doing the bare minimum, but we wanna make a nice project for Hudson, and we want it to fit the current landscape, and so, you know, we'll pivot where we need to pivot, but it's gonna cost what it's gonna cost. Yeah. We don't want it to be a thrown together project, we want it to be lasting, and we're taking advantage of every opportunity we can. There will be applications for brownfield grants, we are going, you know, looking at geothermal, and, you know, and green energy type of funding, and as well as, you know, material. So, you know, we're trying to make it a good project, and even currently, even though this may not be directly applicable to the project, but there was an old NYSERDA grant that was not fulfilled. We're in the process of fulfilling that with about 53 refrigerators that are going to go to residents. We've got a partial delivery of that, and we're about to start delivery to the residents. And, you know, depending upon how quick the project comes about, we hope to, you know, move those appliances at the very least, have them as replacement resources. But it's a, you know, they're green and they're applicable to today's code, so. For our commission.
Great, I remember way back when those refrigerators were.
And I wasn't aware of that, Commissioner Smith made me aware.
Okay.
Through Mr. Shamidi, who used to be the mayor's aide, I guess.
Yeah.
And he gracefully is helping to make sure that the funding period was extended and that we get this done.
Great. Cool.
So that's it on HHA redevelopment updates, +1 ADU grant.
Another follow-up, so last meeting we talked about county applied for a grant to make ADUs, accessory dwelling units. It's not been formally announced, but it looks like they received it. However, Hudson is not part of it because we don't have ADUs in our zoning code. And so part of the state's requirement is in order to receive the funds, you have to have ADUs in your zoning code. That said, we're eligible to apply like independently, like without the county, just on our own in the future round. If we were interested in that, it's supposed to come out probably in November. So that's just an update on that.
Well, that could be part of the next topic.
What are the examples in the park that are down at the waterfront? Are they just,
Those are
Oh,
saunas.
sorry.
oh, are they? I didn't know, I was just down there for the first time in a long time.
It's funny that you asked that. It's like
I had no idea.
ADU
bottles.
or sauna.
Wow. Are they active somewhere?
Yes,
Oh,
2 months down there, and they've been at Oakdale for most of the time.
okay, I had no idea, I just, like I said, first time down there in a long time yesterday, and I was like, wow. I'm embarrassed. I'll be honest. I didn't know, I had no idea.
I like that.
It's called Big Towel. They're on.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
Big Towel saunas.
Thank you for that. Sorry. On to the next thing on the agenda, comp plan survey?
Yeah, so just an update on the comprehensive plan, looks like been, just getting started in January, February, March. I'm gonna do like a public launch of everything before the end of May. So part of that process is the first piece is, the plan is like producing like a listing conditions report of data of what's going on in Hudson. When they're finishing up, like getting some comments from like the Common Council and the planning board this week, and then when that's done, I can share like one of the finalized versions. I think they did a really good job with the housing data. But also coming up in May is that we'll be opening up, a survey, asking residents just how are they feeling about things in Hudson, what are their needs, what's their vision? And so one of the things, hoping that I can share that with you all so you can spread that to your networks. I think we're trying to find different ways of this soft survey, like paper, online, tabling at different events, stuff like that. So as I get that, more information about that, I'll share that with y'all. So.
Maybe it would help to make clear that the people working on it now are just the consultants. They're the ones compiling all the information, so there's no public involvement.
In the statement, Israel military says aircraft from 3 Hamas military